Welcome back to my series on games that we missed out on. This month's video is brought to you by the Intellivision Amico. Oh, sorry, wait, what's this? Just got another notification to deposit more money to its fundraising campaign. Sure, let's put in $1,000 more dollars. There we go. Oh man, this system is gonna be so freaking awesome when it comes out. Suck it, Nintendo. Speaking of the big N, Nintendo is known to have a pretty good overall record in the long run, with a few blemishes under their belt here and there. They tend to really gauge the market properly and somehow, usually, they come out on top. However, sometimes, once in a blue moon, they do publish games made by other studios. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. And one of the big arcade games to be published by them back in the day was R-Type, which was developed by Irem. And I'm going to cover that classic in a future video. In 2008, Skip LTD developed a game by the name of Captain Rainbow. This character is like a mixture between like a Tier C F-Zero racer and a reject character from a Captain Planet episode. It was never released anywhere outside of Japan, and the more I play it, the more it becomes obvious as to why it stayed secluded to that market. The story of the game is that you are a regular guy named Nick who turns into a yo-yo wielding superhero named Captain Rainbow. I am not making it up, that is a story. He also happens to have his own TV show, but over the years, his popularity has slowly diminished, so Nick embarks on a journey to an island called Mimin. He's heard that wishes can be granted on this island, and he thinks that this might be the key to reviving Captain Rainbow's popularity. On the way there, he tries to save a drowning creature, but fails to do so. He loses his Captain Rainbow belt in the process, which causes Nick to revert to his normal self as he washes up on the island. Once there, he meets up with many different characters, all who turn out to be lesser-known Nintendo characters from previous games, as well as characters from Skip games that were exclusive to Nintendo. I'm gonna get to the characters in a bit. During your exploration on the island, you're gonna come across crystals that the manual calls this right here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but to me they look like stars, so I'll just call them small stars. But whatever. Collecting 20 of these is going to get you a big star, and if you collect one of the big stars, you have the power to grant wishes. At that point, you can either grant your own wish or help the islanders by granting their wish. And unless you're some sort of sadistic bastard, you're going to be seeking these stars to help them out. They are scattered about the island, and sometimes the inhabitants themselves will give you one of them if you help them out. The majority of the game is just a big explorational quest with the occasional fetch side quest. You know, grabbing an item for a certain character from another character, or finding a certain item in the island, so on and so on. And once you satisfy that request, in turn they will grant you access to different types of minigames. So let's go over each character on the island, go over what game they had originally appeared in, as well as the minigames that each one will have you participate in. Keep in mind that not all of them will have minigames attached to their story. So let's start off with what I consider to be the most popular of them all. The bird, the myth, the legend, the mystery, Birdo. First introduced in Super Mario Bros. 2 in the US, Birdo was a boss character who is sort of an anomaly. The manual itself implies that it's a male, referring to Birdo as a him on two different occasions. Yet if the player did not read the manual, which most of us back then did not, he or she would think Birdo is some sort of a female character. Just looking at Birdo will make anyone think it's female. She even spits eggs, has a big bow on the head, is pink colored. I mean, if it walks like a duck and it quacks, it's Birdo. In this game, you come to find that Birdo has been imprisoned by Officer Mapple, which I'm going to get to him next. So at that point, Birdo tasks you with going to her home and bringing back an item that's going to prove once and for all that she is a female. Now this is the part where you start to realize that the game is not as innocent as it looks, and is one of the reasons why it never got an international release. It gets a little bit vulgar. It's subtle, but it's there. When you retrieve that item from her home, it is never shown for the player to see, but it is heavily implied that it is a vibrator, mainly indicated by the moving pillow here, as well as some of the dialogue. Eventually, Mappo sees the evidence and sets her free. Speaking of which, Officer Mappo right here, like I said, is from another game called Gift Pia. It was released back in 2003 by the same people who made Captain Rainbow, and it also never got released outside of Japan. In that game, Officer Mappo is a robot who is programmed to supervise the protagonist of that game as he pays off a huge debt by running chores and other jobs across town. In Gift Pia, you can also do many things like fishing, for example. If you have played Animal Crossing during that time, Gift Pia would have felt very familiar to you. Now, Mappo is not the main character of that game or this game by any means, and is more of a side character in both, just to help the protagonist advance with the storyline. He was basically built for the island's police force since human officers could not be afforded, and his reason to be on the island is that he wishes to become a detective. Next on the list is Hikari. She is one of the main characters in the title Shin Onigashima, which was released for the Famicom Disk System in 1987. I don't have much info on this character since I've never played that game, and even if I wanted to, I can't, because I can't read Japanese. The game is an adventure story told through small screen cutscenes, a little bit similar to Shadowgate on the NES. In this game, however, she is the first character that you meet in the island, and is a central piece to the player in explaining some of the inner workings of the island. I guess maybe I missed the dialogue when she explains what her wish is, because I have no idea what it is, other than she seems to have somehow prophesized your arrival. Now, this disgusting slob of a human being right here is known as Osa. He is the character in the NES black box title Golf. Most people out there will remember him as a slight variation on Mario with a more human appearance. And all these years I thought it was Mario as well, but turns out it's not. Ozan also isn't actually his name, but a Japanese term meaning middle-aged man. It was used during the development of Donkey Kong as a reference to Mario before he was given his name. I looked up the golf manual and I could not find anything saying that Ozan is his official name, but this game right here makes that official. After helping him out, you're gonna get access to some mini golf games that you can play with him. My god, get some medicated powder or something. Tao is a dog and character from the game Gift Pia as well. He actually is trained by Mappo in that game, and he's not really an important character in either one, but he does help you out in retrieving an item for one of the characters in this game. The narrator in Captain Rainbow makes it seem like this dog is just plain stupid. I feel kinda bad for him. Devil here is from the Famicom game Devil's World, which was released in Japan and Europe in 1987. It was never released here in the States due to Nintendo's policy on religious content / symbols in games released in North America. He's the character that just kind of sits on top of the screen here and has his minions go after the main character of the game. He even has that small portion of the game showing inside his home right here. In Captain Rainbow, he travels to the island since he wishes to become the most powerful villain of the underworld. If you've ever played Link's Awakening back in 1993 on the Game Boy, you might remember Tracy here, or you might not. I don't blame you. Her name in the Game Boy title is Crazy Tracy. She lives in a hut inside the mysterious forest and will sell you potions. In this game, however, she has a pretty nice looking pad and immediately lets you know her intentions. Jeez man, do they really go crazy with her. She comes off as trying to be seductive and sexy, with her wish being that she wants to seduce all the men in the world. A very different representation of this character from her role in Link's Awakening. She makes some remarks in her dialogue, possibly implying that she wants to sleep with you. And if you have doubts about that, then this right here will kinda maybe change your mind, because it looks like you keep stroking her breast while she talks to you. Damn Japan, they really wanted to make her a slut. This one here needs no introduction for most out there, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Little Mac is the main character in the Punch-Out series. We first saw him in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in 1987. He's pretty much been the staple in the series ever since, although some might argue that it wasn't Little Mac who appeared in Super Punch-Out, but that's a topic for another day. Also, I'm one of those out there that always argue that the character from the original Punch-Out arcade games is his father. I'm not saying it's official or it's canon, but that's just my theory. Now back to Little Mac. Between the first NES game and this one right here, he has really let himself go really bad. He's traveled to the island to get back in shape and get back to boxing and becoming a champion once again. You get to help him on this journey by taking boxing rounds with him and getting him back in shape. Takamaru here is from the game The Mysterious Murasame Castle, which was released in 1986 on the FDS and was a Japanese-only title. In that game, Takamaru is the protagonist, a sword-wielding samurai that travels to different castles to get rid of demons and rescue a princess in each of them in the process. In Captain Rainbow, Takamaru asks you for assistance in helping him not get excited so much around women. That's an odd one. Now, how you interpret that comment, that's entirely up to you. If you played Panel de Pon, you will quickly recognize Lip, the main character of that title. That game actually got released on the Super NES here in the States, but they removed all characters from Panel de Pon, replaced them with Yoshi, and then re-released it here under the name Tetris Attacks, even though it has nothing to do with the original Tetris title or even Yoshi. Not the first time Nintendo has done something like this. In this game, Lip lives in a mushroom house which is kind of guarded by a piranha plant from the Mario Brothers universe. Her wish is to become a powerful sorceress. Space Hunter Drake Redcrest is a character from the Chibi Robo series, a GameCube game released by Skip in 2005. In this game, Drake crash lands on the island and you need to help him fix his ship. Now believe it or not, his wish is not to fix his ship, but to find out the difference between good and evil. Now aside from the characters I just went over, there are so many small cameos and small Easter eggs that are tied to Nintendo franchises. For instance, the warp pipes and the sound of you entering the pipes, I mean that's just straight out of the Mario games. Tracy also has a picture of Mario and Link above her chair in her mansion. There are army soldiers in the island as well, and they are from the Famicom Wars games, which we know as Advance Wars, as well as Goopers and Cheep Cheeps. The overall game is an exploration treasure hunt throughout the island, trying to find items and small stars in order to advance. Occasionally, you can take a break from the slow mundane pacing of the game by playing the mini-games that the inhabitants will have you participate in once you help them out, and some of them can be fun. You're also gonna have to keep an eye out on this meter right here every time you turn into Captain Rainbow. If it depletes while you are transformed into the superhero, you die. The meter does not go down when you are just plain Nick. In order to replenish your meter, you have to find food throughout the island. Fruits, mushrooms, and other items will help you with this along the way. Being Captain Rainbow will also allow you to move about the island a little bit quicker, but it's a tricky way to travel due to the meter. Eventually you will have access to warp points that will speed up your travel on the island. The game also has sort of a night and day cycle that's going to be crucial to solving some of the puzzles in the game. The cutscene and the entire sequence of changing from day to night and vice versa, it's extremely annoying after maybe the third time, and it quickly reminded me of the same thing happening in Castlevania 2 for the NES. The only thing I did find incredibly tedious with this game is the dialogue. It's not boring, but it's rather slow in presenting itself. Worse yet is that there's no button or option that I know of to speed it up or just bypass it with just maybe pressing a single button. That would have helped in speeding up the overall gameplay. It is slow enough already, but to get bogged down even further with these long, and I'm talking long discussions, almost drove me over the edge. The overall feel of the game, including the humor, is something very Japanese-like, and I can understand why this game was not released internationally. Some of the crude humor it doesn't go well with the overall artwork and aesthetics of the game, and sometimes feels so out of place that it just feels odd. The minigames are very different from one another, and one of the reasons why I wanted to include it in my last video when I went over games that feature multiple genres. Now, some out there might argue minigames are not considered multi-genre, they're just minigames, which I can understand that argument, but I felt it's such an odd and almost unknown title that I thought to myself it would be perfect for my videos on games that we never got a port of. Overall, Captain Rainbow is one of those titles that You just have to play at least once in your life just to say, you know what? Yeah, I played it. It's odd, it's crude in some portions, yet unique enough to warrant some attention after all these years. The overall story is intriguing, and the ending and the repercussions of your actions and the fate of the island is something that I leave for those out there wanting to play the game to cherish on their own. Or you can just YouTube it, whatever. You know, it's rare for Nintendo to lend out their characters to other companies after the debacles in the early 90s, and we all remember those, even if they are second or third tier characters. Yet, the game doesn't completely waste that opportunity with this title. Since I am not into actual metric reviews, I won't give it a score, but I'm gonna say try it out if you come across the chance to play this very unique title. It's not flashy, it's not gonna blow your mind, it's not a triple A title, and the overall gameplay is somewhat sluggish for the most part, but it stands on its own 2 feet just fine. Anyone out there watching this ever play it? Did you even know this game existed? Let me know in the comment section. I hope you all enjoyed this video on this little known Captain Rainbow title for the Nintendo Wii. Until next time, keep watching, keep gaming, and as always, take care of yourselves.
ハンニルフスコア敵都合